My name is Tyler Roicki and welcome to my channel. So, fun fact about myself, I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. So I'm a San Antonio native, and another fun fact is I absolutely love modern architecture, and modern houses are the style that I am all about. Something I've come to realize through my travels throughout the United States is that San Antonio is not a market that's particularly big on modern houses. So if you're anything like myself, you might be wondering, well, Tyler, what are the best neighborhoods to buy a modern house in San Antonio? Given that it's not the most common theme and it's not the biggest trend that we've got going on here in the Alamo City, if I want a modern house, Tyler, where do I go? Where should I be looking? Well, truth be told, if you want a true modern style house, there's not a whole lot of places that you have to look. But the places you do have to look are pretty darn phenomenal. So with that in mind, we're going to explore the top neighborhoods to buy a modern house in San Antonio. So let's hop on my computer and check it out.
All right, so we're here at my computer and I've done some very extensive searching to find some great examples of sales that have occurred in the past year that are modern in style. And ultimately, I'm going to break it down to 5 specific areas in town that you should be searching in if you are looking to find a home that is modern style. Fact is, there are areas here and there in between and even outside of the city where you can still find this style. It's just not the norm. But the 5 neighborhoods and really areas that I've narrowed it down to are areas in which modern is a norm. At least it is one of the styles that is being built in the neighborhood. So for starters, I'm going to tell you right now what those 5 areas are, and then we're going to dive into this list and I'm going to show you some of the sales that have occurred over the past year in these areas and also in other areas where it is less common of a style. And lastly, I'm going to show you what is actually currently available on the market at this current moment in time as far as the different houses that are available at the different price points and what you get for your money depending on how much you have to work with. So the 5 areas that you're going to be wanting to search for a modern house here in San Antonio are Christabella, the Canyons at Scenic Loop, Terremont, downtown San Antonio, specifically Lone Star and around the Pearl, and last but certainly not least, the Huntington at Shivano, if your budget will allow. So here's a map of sales that have occurred around town that have been modern in style within the past year. And we're going to start off at the higher price point because I want to start there because there's a tendency at the more, if you want to call it entry level price, it's not actually entry level price, but just for this particular style, there's a very, very, very limited amount of houses that you could even consider are modern in style that are being built in the really under $500,000 range. And if they're what are a real cutoff with it, I'd say it's really the 600 plus where you really start to have options where it's not a townhouse or there's not a compromise in style one way or the other, because sometimes on the lower side of the price range, you're not really getting the full modern style. It might be modern aesthetic on the outside or some features on the inside, but not a full-fledged modern exterior, interior, and really built. So that being said, let's start on the high end here because I want to show y'all what is available in San Antonio. And particularly if money is not an object, the Huntington at Shivano is an area to be looking at. The location of the neighborhood is very centrally located on the north side of town. Zooming out on the map, you can see exactly where you're at. Yeah, it's a secluded area inside Loop 1604. It's kind of hidden. Basically, you could pass by this area on the highway, and you wouldn't even know it's there unless you knew your way around town. Essentially, it's easy to miss, but it's hidden away back here. As far as San Antonio is concerned, this is a ultra luxury neighborhood, and there's a mix of styles, all high-end houses, and modern is a theme that goes on here. While the houses, for the most part, that you're going to find are definitely on the contemporary side, but not a full-fledged modern sort of style. It's kind of more of a blend, as you'll see here with the pictures of this one. But this is a good example. This sale occurred in the past year, and we'll finish the pictures real quick here. Sizable house though, 7,400 square feet. And this house sold for $2.6 million, $350 a square foot at that point. And on a solid acre, again, ultra luxury neighborhood. Pretty much all the houses on your street are going to be ultra high end, just like this one. But here's another one that happened in the same exact area, Huntington at Shivano. This one occurred for $1.775 million. Biggest thing is this was a smaller house by comparison. You're looking at almost a 3,000 square foot difference. But let's check out the picture and style and see what you get. Again, contemporary sort of style, but it's more of a blend because of the warm colors you get, which I think it's a really neat style. You'll find that with the houses in this neighborhood. It's just such a clean look, in my opinion. And again, this is a must to take a look at these houses in this neighborhood if there's any available when you're actually looking, if you have the means to do so. It's really a phenomenal location, and the builds quality just top level. So next, let's head on over to another area that we talked about, and that's over here, Christabella. So Christabella, probably the most modern neighborhood you're going to find in San Antonio. And there's just so many new builds happening right now in Christabella that are modern style. It's pretty neat to see that, because for the longest time, it was just not a thing in San Antonio. And now there's actually a neighborhood where there's streets of houses being built that are all modern style. And here's one that you're seeing in the pictures here that sold. And these houses really have great character to them. So that's one example there. Let me show you some of the others. And you'll see on this map, it's like, wow, there's a number of them here. And here's another one. This one on the lower side. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the lower in price you go, essentially, the less full-on modern style you have. So this one on the outside, it's got the look, especially with those big windows. But on the inside, it lacks the full-on modern vibe. It's almost more regular looking of a house on the interior. It does have some modern touches, but not full-fledged, all-out modern like some of these higher-end builds we're going to see. And now, very nearby, so there's 3 of those 5 areas that I just mentioned. Well, really 4 if you look at it, because look, we've got down here's downtown, and then here is the Huntington at Shivano, but literally right here are the other 3 areas. So 4 of the areas are here on the north side of town in very close proximity to La Cantera. If you ask me, that's no coincidence, because the 2 most popping areas as far as development goes in town are the Pearl Brewery and really downtown San Antonio as a whole. That whole area, there's so much development happening down here right now. And then also the RIM shopping center in La Cantera. Those are the 2 biggest areas of development in town, the 2 hottest shopping centers, places to go spend time. So it comes as no surprise that the modern style houses are all being built in close proximity to those 2 areas. So Terremont is located a little further away from the highway than Christabella. And then we'll get to it in a moment with the Canyons of Scenic Loop a little further north. But let's take a look at the Terremont houses. We'll take a look at those 2 real quick here. This one's almost 5,000 square feet. And you'll notice the lot sizes are pretty good on these. This one's just short of an acre. But as you'll see, this is a nice modern style house, great size. This one sold for $1.16 million, $235 a square foot. And then here's one more, also same area, Terremont. That one's got a real nice aesthetic modern look on the outside. Also on the inside. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is a full-fledged modern build, high end. This is just something you will not find at the, closer to $500,000 price point, even going into the 700s, 800s. You will not find this kind of look. I mean, you've got the modern wine cellar. And again, this is something that is not, in years past, this style just is not prevalent in San Antonio. In a lot of other major markets, you have more houses being built that are kind of this style. Austin, you'll find this sort of style more often, not so much San Antonio, but you'll see that 1.6 million essentially, over $300 a square foot. That's pretty much what you can expect for a house like that in San Antonio. That's very, you're in the $1.5 million range thereabouts, typically on something like that that's that size and location. And then very close by, like I mentioned, Canyon's a scenic loop. We've got another modern style house, 4,500 square feet. This one's got the real modern aesthetic on the outside as well. And what's really neat about these areas, do you see that view? These houses have incredible views. Christabella is real hilly. So is Canyon's a scenic loop. So there's a lot of opportunity to, really utilize the hill country and to take in those views, especially with modern houses like this with the large glass windows and, just really making the most of that natural light. And now we've covered 4 of the 5 areas on my list. Let's cover the last one, and then we'll go to some of the outliers that are just scattered about. So I mentioned downtown San Antonio. And so I think what's significant to note about this point is that you will find options that are a lower price point in general, but it's because, well, this is a townhouse, for instance. So it is modern style, but it's a townhouse. So your neighbors are right there with you. And that's pretty well how it's going to be downtown. It's the location. You don't have large lots that you're going to have all these built on, but they are utilizing some modern sort of, city sort of builds. Like, they're utilizing a rooftop space on this one. Let's look at the other 2 as well. This one's a townhouse as well. Again, modern style townhouses, but you don't really have all your own space like you do on the other examples we just saw. And, as a whole, this is less modern than those high-end houses. It's just, you're working with a limited amount, budget-wise versus those builds. Because even though these are smaller, they're still price per square foot wise. Some of those larger houses were more, and it's just more high-end, more high-end materials and qualities that go into them. And last one, see, this one's, I believe this is actually a single family. Yeah, this one's a single family, so less of a townhouse, but still a really small lot. You can tell on those, on the picture. But again, modern style theme. So if you really want modern, this might be for you. I mean, you got a view of the Tower of Americas. I mean, if you really want modern, you don't want to spend over $1 million, and you really like the location of being really in the heart of downtown, then you've got an option. And this one's 1,800 square feet, $272 a square foot is what it sold for, right around the $500,000 area. So that's the difference. Downtown, that's generally what you're going to find in terms of modern downtown. Now let's look at some of the outliers real quick, because there are modern houses in other areas If you go out to New Braunfels, occasionally you'll find something. Same with Bernie. That's where this one is right here. And they're generally in higher end neighborhoods. And it's just less of a common thing versus over here, literally, you'll have a street of houses that are modern in Christabella, Terremont. They're pretty prevalent. Not so much in all these other areas. They're just every now and then you'll see one. So here's 5 more, I believe. Yeah, 5 more in other areas. So let's take a look and see where these are. This one's in Bernie Cordillera Ranch. That's a very high-end neighborhood, and this is a more modern theme house in it. Which a lot of these builds in Cordillera are Texas Hill Country, so this one's kind of got a little bit of that going on as well. But style-wise, it does have a lot of modern elements, which is pretty neat. So that one was just short of 6,000 square feet, sold for nearly $2.5 million on, by the way, a 13-acre lot. So very sizable lots that you'll find out in Cordillera Ranch, which, as you can see, it's pretty far north of the city. If you need to be driving into town, you definitely want to consider the length of the drive with that. Let's look at this one right here. This is in the Stone Oak area. So there are a few modern houses in Stone Oak, not a ton. Well, actually, there's a number of them being built right now, sort of in this area right here. And there's a lot of new builds being built in that specific neighborhood it's basically right across the road from this, but that you can see this one sold for $600,000, which is pretty incredible for the style. You just don't really see this. I mean, this isn't really something you see in Stone Oak all that often. It's pretty much once in a blue moon a modern house will hit the market in Stone Oak, except for that neighborhood that they're starting to build them in now. So there are some opportunities coming up with the new builds there. And then this is a really established area, Terrell Hills. There's not a ton of houses like this in Terrell Hills, so it's pretty neat to see something that's more modern style there, because Terrell Hills is one of the more established upper end areas in San Antonio. So a lot of the houses are gorgeous there, just they're not really modern looking at all. So this one has the look more on the outside than anything else. It is an older house, so it's just, yeah, it's got beautiful curb appeal. And then last 2 here are in the New Braunfels area. This one's got a nice modernish looking theme to the interior. Again, I already said it a couple of times, but hey, it's the price point of the house. $600,000. Just like the one in Stone Oak. Oh, and I didn't mention the price on the Terrell Hills one. That one was $825 for a 3,200 square foot house. A lot of the value there is in the land, the location of that one. And then here's the last one we got, New Braunfels. This one sold for $680,000, and it's got some nice modern aesthetics to it. And so those are the sales from the past year. And I did cover the 5 areas to buy modern in San Antonio there. Now I'm going to end the video for y'all here by showing you what is actually available right now. Now there's a few pendings that I didn't put on the list. I was actually surprised to see how many houses modern style above $1 million are currently pending. Like, the demand is there for these high-end modern builds if they're done right. You'll see these are the 2 areas that I've found stuff in that's currently available right now. We've literally got 5 neighborhoods, but 2 areas in general, which if you break it down, those 5 neighborhoods, it's 2 areas. It's the Rim, close proximity to the Rim shopping center and close proximity to downtown in the Pearl. And so let's go through these real quick here. This one's real close to Lone Star Brewery downtown. Lavaca area, solid entry-level price. Again, smaller house, smaller lot. And you got a view of the Tower of America out back. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. They're offering it just over 400,000. We got another one very close to downtown. Again, smaller size, smaller lot, but you got some rooftop. That's pretty neat. Rooftop grilling. You got some nice trees. Interesting yard. That one they're offering for just over 400 as well. And this one actually, by the way, is a little north. I just noticed this. This is a little north of downtown Mankey Park. There's a lot of small houses that are more modern style being built in the Mankey Park area, which is pretty interesting. Here's another one in the downtown area, Government Hill. You'll see these are all side by side. And this one's more like a townhouse style, so you don't really even have a yard with this one. But you've got a rooftop, it looks like. That's pretty neat because wasn't really a big thing in San Antonio. It's becoming more of a thing. So here we have a more entry-level price, very close to, I wanted to say that was Christabella, but it's not. But it's in that area close to the rim. And this is pretty much what an entry-level modern aesthetic on the outside looks like. But again, you kind of lose it on the inside. Like I said, it is a lower price point than many of the other options you've got. But if you want to have somewhat of a modern aesthetic but not drop $1 million, then you do have options. This home's available for just under $600,000, brand new, 183 bucks a square foot. Now this one is close proximity to downtown. There's a whole development of these going up, but I thought this looked really nice. It's kind of a higher end modern house in the downtown area, and there's a number of these on the same street, but it's got higher end looking finishes on the inside than the others that I showed you downtown. And these are a more recent thing that have gone up, so I think it'd be interesting to see more of these being built. That one's been on the market while now, but there have been a couple of these in the past year that have sold, so it's just a matter of the market absorbing them. Now here's one. It's a little bit further behind the Christabella area, but there are some houses kind of like that back there when you go further back. Which this one's really nice for the price point. Just under 5,000 square foot, brand new build, but it's coming in at right over $200 a square foot. So you're getting quite a bit of house for the money if you consider the fact that it is pretty modern looking. So that's something nice to see. And then we've got this beauty in the canyons at Scenic Loop, 1.2 million. It's just over 3,500 square foot, but it is gorgeous. And look at those views. Man, those views are amazing. It's pretty much got a full wall of glass right there from the living room. And so there's definitely part of the component of this one is those views you have and just the aesthetic appeal to it, because it's not a massive house, but you've got some amazing views. Because this one's going for 338 bucks a square foot, but it's a brand new build on just over half an acre. And then we've got this one in Christabella, and it's on Bella Rose. So Bella Rose and Bella Garden are two streets that are jam-packed with modern houses. And it's I love driving up and down those streets because the houses are so beautiful. And so I'm telling you, if you're wanting to go modern, you've got to drive those streets. You got to look and see what's available there, because I'd say there's a good chance, if you like the location, there's a good chance that you're going to find what you're looking for there if there's any available. But this place is just gorgeous. You've got views because those two streets are essentially driving up the hill. So the further you go up, the more views you got, but you've got views all the way up. And then, like I said, the aesthetics of these houses is just incredible. Last but certainly not least, this one, which is in a different neighborhood, if you'll notice, this is actually over in the Dominion, which the Dominion is a very high-end neighborhood. And the only reason it's not on the list is modern is just not the typical theme in the Dominion. There are some modern houses in there, but predominantly you have other styles, but high end. Most of the houses are higher end in the Dominion, but just modern. It's not the style of choice, so they're rare. They're rare to find. It's rare to find a modern house in the Dominion, but we found one, so check it out. And by the way, if you need to find one in the Dominion, reach out to me. But this house is gorgeous. Gorgeous style, great location, and that outdoor bar and really that whole outdoor area just looks incredible. So there you have it. That's a list of the houses that are available that are modern in style right now. And to sum it up, the 5 areas you need to be looking at if you want to go modern in San Antonio are Christabella, the canyons at Scenic Loop, Terramont, downtown San Antonio, and the Huntington at Shabano.
So there you have it. Those are the top neighborhoods to purchase a modern house in San Antonio if that's the style you're going for. That's based on it being a style in the neighborhood that is trending, that is something that isn't out of the norm. So I'm going off of quantity here partially. That's a big factor. I'm not going for the more rural areas where you might find a modern house in the middle of nowhere, or where it's just a totally uncommon trend and theme for the neighborhood. So if you appreciated the video, if you found it insightful, if you found it helpful in any way, shape, or form, do me a solid favor, hit that thumbs up button to support my channel. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to deliver more value for you in the future. I'm going to share more of my experience and expertise in the real estate market in the San Antonio area and surrounding areas. And ultimately, it's my desire to be a great resource for you. So subscribe so that you can continue on this journey with me in the future and that I may include you in it. That being said, thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next video.